we might get started. So, just by introduction, my name is Nikki. I am the co-founder and CEO of Grown Not Flown. I'm going to first start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. For us, that's the Wadawurrung people, and pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. Just a little bit of housekeeping as part of this session. So the masterclass will go for around 60 minutes. You'll be able to submit any questions throughout the session within the FAQ section of the webinar. I'm here by myself as well. So if it seems a little clunky when the questions come through and I'm trying to filter those and answer those, I do apologize in advance. Was planning to have Sam on the call with me, but he got called out to do some emergency farming stuff. So it's just me today. Usually the webinars are available online sort of within 1 to 2 hours. With this webinar, because it's one of our free webinars, it'll also be available on YouTube as well. So at the end of this, I'll send an email out to everyone, just letting them know once that's available where they can access it and rewatch it if they would like to. And we also have a survey at the end of this. So the survey is really, really helpful for us because it helps us to understand what's working, what's not, what you'd like to see more of, and those sorts of things. And today's webinar is powered by our Grown Not Flown gym membership, which is we've just recently launched our online masterclasses hub as well. And so I'll share sort of some of the upcoming masterclasses that we have at the end of this session as well. An introduction to myself. So I've got 15 years experience in the corporate world. I have a double master's, being my MBA and Masters of Analytics Management from Melbourne Business School. Throughout my career, I've worn many, many different hats. I've worked on a lot of large-scale, high-profile projects and programs, specialized in operation, organizational change management, product and project management, and operational excellence, and led the Kaizen initiative. So for those who might not be familiar, Kaizen is a continuous improvement methodology that's used in business. So Toyota is one of the most famous use cases for Kaizen in creating efficiencies and small incremental changes that compound over time. So I manage both our farm, Duck Duck Pig, as well as Grown Not Flown. So these are my full-time jobs. And I was the lucky recipient of the 2023 AgriFutures Rural Women's Awards for national winner for my work with Grown Not Flown, which is really, really awesome. As part of today's masterclass, we're going to be covering off a few different things. So getting started, creating a value proposition statement, identifying and understanding your buyers, pricing, selling, and marketing, which we'll go through some different pricing strategies as part of that, as well as what is marketing, why is it important, brand management versus marketing, those sorts of things, building trust with customers, providing great customer service, and then just some final thoughts to wrap us up as well. So the first thing we're going to go through is values. So when you're building a business, you're wanting to know, it's really important that you have your personal values and your business values, and that essentially that they align. You're not going to want to run a business that's in conflict with your personal values. I think that that's really important. You can separate those, but you need to feel passionate and aligned with the business and what it is that you're doing within your business. If you don't, if you're in constant conflict with, your personal values, so, I guess probably a really simple example of this might be that you might be a vegetarian, but, you have a butcher's store, and you might not agree with running or selling, meat whilst you're also a vegetarian, but you also might be a vegetarian that believes in selling ethically raised and sourced meats. And so that might be a way for you to sort of align your values in what it is that you're doing within business as well. So it's about it's not necessarily sort of black and white, but it's about sort of understanding where your personal values sit, where your business values sit, and where you're willing and happy to sort of operate within that. Knowing who you are and who your ideal customer is. So you want to have a really strong brand identity. You want to know who you are, what it is that you're looking to achieve, and how it is that you're going to be able to sort of achieve that. When we talk about your ideal customer, it's not about trying to talk to everybody. If you talk to everybody, you'll talk to nobody. It's about really understanding who it is that you want to be able to service and how it is that you're going to be able to deliver those. So an example of this is for us at Grown Not Flown. We're small scale growers ourselves, so we're flower farmers ourselves. We want to also support the micro and small scale growers. We wanted to build our platform to be inclusive of all types of growers, so that if someone has a commercial enterprise, that they can also get the benefit out of our platform. But the real people that we want to work with and that we want to be able to help service and help bring technology is to those micro small scale growers in particular, or small businesses that are like us as well. And so it's really about sort of understanding who it is, what it is that, who you are, what it is that drives you, and who those customers are that you want to be able to help. Don't make assumptions. So this is really, really important. So the reason that I say don't make assumptions is because it is human nature to assume that we have what they call sort of like this ordinary bias. We assume that other people think the same way as us. We assume that other people have the same values as us, that they're willing to pay the same amounts for different things as us. And it's just simply not true. So you need to be able to test your assumptions, or recognize them first of all, and then test those assumptions to see whether or not that they're true. The other thing is that we tend to look what they call the confirmation bias. When you are invested in something, you tend to look for things that are going to prove your statements correct. And so you need to be mindful of this anytime you're doing market research, or you're looking for information that might be benefiting your business. Because if you go out and you're looking for those answers, you're going to find those answers, which is then going to positively affirm what it is that you're looking to do. And then you're going to sort of assume again that that's what everyone else sort of wants. And so it's really important that you test those assumptions, speak to people, share your ideas, talk to potential customers, understand where their boundaries sit and what they're willing to pay for. So their willingness to pay versus your willingness to sell, and bridging that gap. Also recognizing that people's willingness to pay isn't always. There's a lot of research that's been done on this over the years, but it's something like what someone is willing to pay is usually substantially less than what they're actually willing to pay. So also understanding that sometimes when you are having these conversations and you're getting this information, or they think, oh yeah, I would pay for that, but then when it comes to the crunch, they might not actually want that, and so they're actually not willing to pay for it. So in theory, yes, but in practice and principle, actually not really. There are no one size fits all solutions. Anyone that tells you that there are, I would encourage you to challenge them. But what we can do is frameworks. We can use frameworks to help us to understand how we find the size that fits our business, that fits ourselves, to then be able to work with that. And the one size fits all solutions, I often sort of talk about, so you want frameworks, not recipes. And the reason being is that a recipe is sort of really very rigid around, you've got to do X, Y, and Z to get over here, the results over here. And that's just not life. And so, but what you might be able to do is, if you've got all these different frameworks and tools to be able to support your business, you'll be able to take a little bit from over here and a little bit from over here and a little bit from up here, and then bring something together and Frankenstein that framework to build something that is really, really suitable for your business. And so using the different tools that are available, that's going to help you to get a better understanding of who you are, where you sit, what your customers need, and how you can drive your business forward in the future as well. So just something to be mindful of. Do market research, identify your customers' needs and the market trends. Now, this doesn't mean you need to necessarily react to those. It's just about being aware of what's happening within the industry and the environment, or even within other industries. Something that, within Australia, you'll often see a lot of the trends that come to Australia happened first in Europe. If I'm looking at that from around sort of with a business lens on it, so Europe at the moment, or sort of previously, have enforced these really sort of strict data sharing rules. Now that's going to trickle through down to sort of the rest of the world as part of that. And so they tend to sort of be leaders in sort of a lot of change. You see it a lot with fashion as well, flowers, those sorts of things also. But it's about looking at what's happening in other industries, what's happening in other countries, and sort of understanding whether or not, or whether you think that's going to come in and it might sort of impact your business, and being prepared for change if that fits and that sits well. The best thing you can do in business is be adaptive, but also according to your own values. And it's really about finding that balance and that sweet spot in business as well. You need to build sustainable business models. This means you need to get paid. So one of the biggest risks with small businesses is that we tend to build them, and we're guilty of doing it as well. It's really hard to do it. But you'll build a business that is 100% dependent on you, the individual, making sure that that business continues to operate. What that means is there's no sick days, there's no holidays. It means that the moment you stop, everything else stops. And so you need to make sure that as part of your business model, which includes around your pricing strategies and your customers and whether or not they have the ability to sort of be able to pay you for what it is that you're looking to do, you need to make sure that you factor in your own wage. Might not be immediately, but it might be the goal that within 12 months, 2 years, you are taking a wage, and that you just understand that there'll be sort of sacrifices that you make in the short term and in that period of time until you get to that sustainable business model for your business as well. But really important that you factor that in when you're getting started. And it's really, really easy. Farming, especially. I can't tell you, we took over our family farm in 2019. We don't take a wage. We're trying to get to the farm so that it's healthily paying for itself and becomes profitable at the same time. But that meant that we needed to put a medium to long-term plan in place, and looking at what our different options were around those as well, for different income streams to create those sustainable business models. The next one is around what is a value proposition. So a value proposition is a statement that explains why a customer should buy your product or your services. It outlines the benefits and the unique features that make your products or services valuable to the customer, addressing their needs and solving their different problems as well. And so I've got a template on what it is like, how you kind of build your value proposition statement. I want to sort of say here that value propositions aren't essential in getting started with your business, but what it does is it helps you get really clear on, again, understanding who you are, what it is that you're doing, who your target customer is, and it gives you a really punchy sentence that you could be able to use on your social media, on your website, when you're advertising your products, when you're marketing your goods, when you're having conversations. It's essentially your elevator pitch for your product, or for what it is that you're looking to achieve with whatever it is that you're sort of doing in business. So the value proposition, and you want to look at, so our insert product and service helps a customer segment, your ideal customer, to buy, and you want to have sort of a verb, which is, an action, an occurrence, a state of being that sits in here. Insert customer pain, and verb inserts customer gain. Now, I've done some examples up of this, and I'm happy to share this template at the end of this as well. If anyone would like a copy of it, just send me through an email. I've got the email address at the end. If we're thinking our online platform helps flower farmers, small scale producers who want to sell their flowers by removing the need for them to build their own website and providing them with an online shop. It's a really easy statement to be able to understand what it is that you're doing. I've got a question here. What is an elevator pitch? So an elevator pitch, this is me using my jargon. So please call me out on any of these things if I use any jargon as part of this. An elevator pitch is basically, a 30-second pitch that you can do, a 30-second to 1-minute pitch that if someone asks you, what do you do? You give them the information and it's punchy and it's pointed and they know exactly at the end of that what it is that you do. So again, Grown Not Flown is an online platform and app that connects thousands of flower farmers all around the globe. It's an easy way for people to be able to understand and shortcut what it is that your business does. So I hope that helps as well. But so the value proposition, you can see how, and usually probably the elevator pitch might be extended like a little bit more than that, but the value proposition, it helps give you that punchy statement as part of it as well. I've also done one up for our gym memberships. So because you can see, you can have them as different, we're Grown Not Flown. We have multiple different things that we offer within our platform. One being the online platform, the technology, the second one being the education as well. We have our community on social media. We have different partnerships, which is working in collaboration with people. And so you can see that we've got all these different things that are sort of happening. And so it's not uncommon to do different elevator pitch or different, value statements according to what it is that you're doing. So for our gym membership, our Grown Not Flown gym membership helps small businesses who want to learn new skills by providing accessible and affordable education and bringing industry leaders to your lounge. So it's a way for people to be able to shortcut and understand what they are as well. Now, hopefully that's been helpful, again, it's just about providing a framework and some structure for you to start thinking about what it is that you're doing within your business, what is the value that you're bringing to your customers, and how can you say that in a really succinct and straightforward way. And again, happy to share this template as well. Just shoot me an email and I can send it out. Actually, I'll be sending an email out at the end of this, just letting everyone know where they can access the masterclass. So I might even include it just as part of that email. I wanted to include a global brands example. And so you can see Google's value proposition to provide users with the most relevant and useful search results possible, quickly and efficiently. And this is, again, just a good example. It doesn't necessarily need to fit that template perfectly, but it's just about helping people to understand what it is that you're doing and the value that you're bringing to them as well. The next thing that we're going to cover off is understanding your buyers. Now, understanding your buyers, again, who is your ideal customer? And I've got some templates or some questions that we're going to go through that will help you sort of dive into that a little bit deeper. What is the problem that we're solving? What are their goals, challenges, motivations? What are their preferred communication channels? Where do these people hang out? How do you get in front of them in a way that is meaningful and that is going to add value to them, that's going to get their attention? And it's going to be different depending on who your ideal customer is as well. Different people hang out in different spaces. I think a lot of the younger generations that are coming up, they're much more likely to be on different social media apps to the older generation. So, TikTok, they might be a little bit more on Instagram, but probably TikTok's going to be one of the main sort of drivers of creating content. But then also you're going to be able to create content on different platforms as well. If it's more corporate, you might be LinkedIn. If it's, a lot of Facebook groups and Facebook forums and those sorts of things. But how about just even getting in front of people? Where are people hanging out? If they're going to different industry events or conferences or whatever it might be, there might be different opportunities for you to be able to get in front of people and share your products and services with them in a way that is meaningful and using a way that is, in a way that's going to be able to kind of connect with them as well. This is a really big one. Do they have the means and the want to support your business? So you could choose, like if you're wanting to do, if you're wanting to sort of do these really high-end flowers, say, for weddings. But you want them to be accessible and available to everyone. Well, someone who is budget conscious probably isn't going to be able to help maintain your business. And so they might not actually be your ideal customer. It's just about recognizing that actually, whilst you would love to be able to service them and you might be able to put things into your business to be able to service them, they're probably not actually your ideal customer because they're not going to be able to pay for you to have a sustainable business model or for you to be able to sustain your business, and where you want to go from there. When you're doing your market research, really, really important to use both quantitative and qualitative data to better understand your customer needs. Now, the difference between these, and again, recognizing that this is probably complete jargon, quantitative is numbers based, countable, measurable. It tells us how many, how much, how often. Might be things like, how many customers have you had, or how many people have ordered your bouquets, or how many people are ordering per stem, and what is the number that they're paying for those. Qualitative is your interpretation based, descriptive, and these are really great. You get this from this information is really, really useful in having conversations and understanding context to why those things. You might sort of, and I would recommend everyone to look at their data and to and what it is, or different insights that are available. But you might find that your social media, as an example, you had severe uptick in the number of followers, and understanding, well, what was it that did that? And maybe it might be reaching out and saying, hey, like, thanks for following. I'd love to know like how you found our account or what's going on, or and that sort of thing. And so it's collecting information through sort of conversation or unstructured data, which means that it's not sort of like your yes, no sort of information. So you can do this through customer interviews, through surveys, through conversation, just general conversation with customers or friends, family, acquaintances, those sorts of things as well. But it helps you to understand why, how, what drove those certain behaviors. Really, really helpful to have a balance of those two. We live in a world where it's really sexy to talk about data-driven decisions, and I am, if you haven't already realized, I'm a massive data geek. I absolutely love data. That's why I did an analytics master's, but I equally know how important it is to have those qualitative conversations and to be able to put the context around the whys for those numbers, to then be able to create that story and share that information. There's no point having data if it's completely out of context, or if it's incorrect or not usable. So know your data. It will absolutely better help to understand who your buyers are, where you sit within the market, and where the opportunities are for you and your business as you move forward. The next one is just sort of 10 questions that can help you to define who your ideal customer is. And this is really sort of, again, I know I kind of have covered some of this, so I might sort of speed through these a little bit quicker, but where do they hang out? Where do they get their information? Are they avid news, radio, reading? Do they get their news from Facebook? If they get their news from Facebook, where do they get their recommendations? Do they come from friends and family, or are they influenced by ads on Facebook? What are their challenges and frustrations? What if, a lot of the time, I say with Grown Not Flown as well, we are our own customer. We created Grown Not Flown because we were solving our own pain points and problems that we were having, or that we foresaw as relatively new flower farmers. And are you your own customer? But also recognizing, if you are, again, just being conscious of your own biases and your own assumptions, but really try to get into the brain of your customers and understand what their challenges and frustrations are. What are their goals and priorities? You're going to have different goals and different priorities depending on different demographic information. I know, maybe for me, it might be, I would love to take more holidays, have more balance, be financially, have financial freedom, those sorts of things. Whereas someone like My parents, who are now retired, their goals aren't going to be to go and build or not necessarily, but their goals, their personal goals aren't to go and build a new business from scratch. Their goals are to take more holidays and to spend more downtime or time with their grandkids. And so it's about understanding different people's life cycles and where they are and what their goals are, but also making sure that you're not limiting with those as well, because there are a lot of people that are my parents' age who will absolutely be starting businesses and as well. So it's just understand who the person is that you're targeting, and what it is that matters to them, what their priorities are for right now. What brands do they like? So what is it? Who are they buying from already? What are they buying from them? Um, this can be really helpful, and it's not to encourage, it's not to copy, and um, it's not to steal other people's ideas or what it is that they're doing, but it's just to be able to understand so that you can understand more yourself who that customer is and what their buying behaviors are, whether or not they have a little bit more money to spend. I think that there's been sort of a real shift with the younger generations caring a lot more about luxury items, and I think a lot of that comes from the influencers that sit within social media at the moment. Whereas when I was the same age as 18, 19-year-olds, I wouldn't have even known what those brands were. I wouldn't have known what Gucci was. I wouldn't have known Louis Vuitton. I wouldn't have known any of them. Whereas now they feel like they're everybody sort of knows who they are or what those brands are. So just it's about sort of really getting inside the head of those of your ideal customer. What is their preferred communications, their form of communications? Not everyone likes talking on the phone. Not everyone likes text messages. Not everyone likes emails. Not everyone likes social media. Not everyone likes going to a store. Now, this is really kind of key, because you need to meet your customers where in their comfort level, right? So if your ideal customer is someone that doesn't use social media, don't use social media. Find other ways to be able to connect with them and communicate with them. If your customer wants to, if your comfort level isn't to speak on the phone or isn't to be customer facing, then figure out a way, or find maybe and your customer wants that, then maybe you're not the right fit for each other as well. And so sometimes it's about identifying where you don't fit those customers as much as it is finding those ideal customers. Understanding what language they use and the different phrases. So I always say, in business especially, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what are my, what transferable skills do you have? And I say this I've worn many different hats throughout my career, and I believe all skills are transferable. And I also believe that, majority of the businesses have the same problems. It's just at different scales. And the difference between them, though, in more times than not, is that language. Each industry has its own language. Each business, each generation have their own languages. So understand what they are, and the best way to actually be able to communicate and speak with people as part of it. And what is their budget? Super, super important. Need to know how much people are willing to pay and how much you're willing to sell. Willingness to pay, willingness to sell, and making sure that those match. What does a day look like for your customer, and what makes them happy? And it's just really, again, about finding that value and that sweet spot and helping to make that come to fruition for them as well. Now, if we take it one step further as well, and we want to understand the customer needs, then this is a really great framework for actually working through what that looks like as well. And this is, this will help in gaining that comprehensive customer. What are their needs, wants, motivations, experts, drivers? This information can then feed into pricing, marketing, communications, and customer services. So understand your customer, ask those questions. what they do when they buy, how they buy, what they expect. You can see that a lot of these tools have they're the same sentiment. They're just sort of slightly nuanced variations of those. And so it's really, figuring out what works for you. Now, I'm not saying you need to sit down and you need to catalog every single thing. It's just about taking the time. It might be half an hour, it might be an hour. You might want to do an entire brainstorm session on what this looks like so that you can then begin to deep dive into each of those. But it's really about just spending the time and the energy on understanding those customer needs so that you're addressing a genuine problem as well. There's nothing sort of worse in business than when someone solves what they think is a problem, but it's their interpretation of the actual problem. We see it a lot in ag tech. Ag tech is technology that's dedicated towards agriculture. And so Grown Not Flown is considered to be ag tech because we're helping farmers. And so there's so many people that have gone and built these really incredible solutions, technical solutions to help farmers, but it doesn't actually help a farmer because it doesn't actually solve their problem, or actually it's made their problem much harder because to do it, it takes a lot longer than what it would if they would have just continued doing it the way that they were. So you need to make sure that when you're thinking about your customers that you are also solving a genuine problem, or you are helping to fill a gap that sits within the market, and that you're meeting their expectations and their needs around those in a way that meets them in their comfort zone. Pricing, selling, and marketing. So you want to implement a pricing and marketing strategy that aligns with your values, your personal business values, and your target market. And so I'll go through some different pricing strategies as well next. But it's just about, again, sort of making sure that you are meeting your customers in a way that makes sense. And these are just, again, tools that you can sort of use to be able to help you to do that. Identify your sales channels and then look at ways to be able to actually optimize those. Really important to test and learn. You should never set and forget in business. It's the number one way to just basically it'll become redundant. Like if you just set and forget something, then it'll become harder and harder because it'll become outdated for people as well. You want to constantly be looking at ways to improve it and to make like maybe slight tweaks to it. So it could just be as simple as like, you might have an EDM that goes out. An EDM is, an email that direct message. So a marketing email that goes out with information about it. And you might do some different tests with how the language that you use or the positioning of buttons. There's a really great example with eBay. So when eBay was first starting, and sorry, I'll just preface this with simple solutions can have big impacts. So with eBay, they wanted to increase the number of sales that were through their platform. So someone came up, they have all these different think tanks and ideas, a way to doing it. And then someone makes a suggestion, why don't we make the buy now button bigger? So they make the buy now button bigger and it increases sales by, 20%. And then, the sales that becomes, what they might have a spike, and then that it sort of normalizes again. And then they go, all right, we'd like to increase sales again. How can we do it? And well, why don't we try and make the button bigger again? And so they make this buy now button bigger again. And again, the sales spike. And so it doesn't need to necessarily be these complex solutions. It's just about trying to understand and optimize what it is that you're doing that's then going to have, really beneficial impacts on your business as a result of it. Doesn't need to be complex. Can be as simple as making the buy now button a little bit bigger. And that goes with also making things easy for customers. You need to make things easy for your customers. I always talk about footpaths as a really good example of this. So think about how often it is that you're walking and you'll see that there's a dirt track that's a shortcut that's right next to a footpath. People are inherently lazy and look for shortcuts, myself included. Everyone does it. It's just human nature. We are hardwired that way. And so you need to make things easy, because if it's hard, people will opt out. They will create their own dirt path, or they'll go somewhere else. So make things easy. Know your money, know your budgets, know your costs, and do your best to stick to them. And don't be afraid to look at it. Money doesn't have to be scary. And as part of our gym membership, again, like we'll begin to deep dive into a lot of these things to help people workshop and better understand these different parts of their business so that they can optimize them as well. Utilize your data and your customer feedback. So one of the things that I say, customer feedback is a gift. It doesn't mean you have to accept it. One of the best things that you can learn with with customer feedback in particular is when to accept it and when to reject it. You're going to know what feels good and what doesn't feel good. The discomfort isn't always a reason to reject it, though. You need to listen to what people are saying, not how they're saying it. You need to remove the emotion and the defensiveness that quite often comes with receiving feedback, and just take the valid information and really kind of, if it doesn't feel good, sit on it. Why doesn't it feel good? Is it because it's true, or is it, is it because it's making you sort of realize that actually that's not the best thing? Is it because that you thought that that was the answer and people over here are telling you that it's not? But again, don't be distracted, or don't make rapid changes if you think it's just people making noise. They say that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and a lot of the time that is true. So just because someone says it, it also doesn't make it true. So it's about finding that balance and that sweet spot when it comes to feedback. Continuously review and refine. Do not set and forget. I know I already kind of covered that previously as well, but really, really important to be looking at what's working. If you're taking photos and, people, the photos might not be super clear, or might not be crisp, or people might want to be able to zoom in and have a look at different things. Like, you need to constantly be looking and reviewing at different things. That doesn't mean making 50 changes in a day. It might be your capacity might only be to make one change every 12 months. And if that's your capacity, that's your capacity. And when I talk about capacity, I'm talking about the number of hours, or the energy, or the time, or the resources, if you've got to pay for people to do it, what your budget is to be able to do that, to be able to put in to make those changes as well. So just don't set and forget. Even if you're only able to review it really sort of ad hocly, it's better than nothing. The next thing is around pricing strategies. Now, this is a big, big slide. There's a lot of different pricing strategies that are available. So we've got value-based. This is setting prices according to what consumers think about a product is worth. On the next slide, it's not as pretty, but you can see I've got the different pricing strategies explained. So I'll run through them, and then I'll skip to the next slide, and you can take a screenshot if you like as well. But I'm also happy to include that in the email that I send out after this as well. But set prices, value-based, setting prices according to what you think the product is worth. Competitive, setting prices based on competition. This doesn't leave much room for growth. The last thing that you want to do is drive prices down with your business. It's not helpful for anyone. You're going to end up in what they call sort of a race to the bottom. And it just ends up meaning that the actual profitability on anything is minimum. A really great example of this within the flowers is also when you might get people that are growing flowers for hobbies versus people that are growing them for business. You might think, well, I love these flowers. I just grow them. It's a hobby. So I'm only going to sell them maybe, a bunch of dahlias for $5. Well, what you're actually doing is you're creating that competitive pricing that is driving the price down. You don't want to be doing that, because it impacts and affects the entire industry. Another really great example of this that we're seeing at the moment within the industry is the largest industry cut flower producer within Australia. They supply to they supply to big chain supermarkets and petrol stations. Now, they are really driving they're really driving supermarket flowers. And because of that, they're putting downward pressure on the prices for the entire industry, which which impacts both flower growers and florists, who are all small businesses. And they're doing that by trying to create these really beautiful displays within the big chain supermarkets, so that, people think, oh, look at these flowers, I'll get these. But they're not necessarily getting a premium product. They're getting it a lot cheaper. But then it also creates that perception that those flowers, or when they next time that person goes to buy flowers, that they might not think that they're worth the value. Price skimming. This is setting prices as high as the market will tolerate and then lowering them over time. A really great example of this is Apple with their iPhones, or any sort of new technology. It's done a lot with technology companies. So you think about when the newest iPhone becomes available, super, super expensive, and then gradually over time, it becomes cheaper and cheaper until the new one comes in, and then that's super expensive. And so this other one is now sort of sitting down here, and the brand new one sort of up here. So they'll squeeze as much value out of it the first time that they launch it, and then they'll slowly bring the price down over time. Cost plus. So this is probably one of the most traditional costings that you'll see. And this is that really sort of, you take the production costs, you add a certain percentage, or, it might be your wholesale prices. What is the cost to do this? Doubling it. And then, wholesale to retail, they might triple it or quadruple it. It's a shortcutted way, I suppose, to be able to understand your pricing. I think that in principle, this is really good because it at least gives you an understanding of what the costs were, but it's probably actually using a few different things. So maybe you might use the technique of understanding what your costs are, but then you also might use, that value-based pricing so that you're getting the right price for your product as well. Penetration is setting the prices low to entice customers to purchase. So this is used a lot when there's, a really, really competitive market. So you'll probably see it on the shelves of supermarkets and those sorts of things. When someone launches a new product, they'll bring it into market at a really cheap price in comparison to their competitors, and then they'll likely look to start to increase the price over time. So they want to create that customer awareness, that customer loyalty, and then sort of get people buying the product as well. It's not one that I would necessarily recommend either for flowers or for small businesses, because it can be hard to increase prices, but also you're probably doing a disservice to yourself by coming in at a really sort of cheap price. Economy, pricing a product cheaper than the competitor, and you make money back with increased volume. So this is, again, probably something that you'd see within like a wholesale market or something like that. So with the flowers in particular, as an example. And it's, you might have them mass produced, but in doing that, you don't have to, it's however many per stem, but you're not necessarily having to chase those individual sales as well. Dynamic is constantly changing the price to match the current demand of the item. I think that we see a little bit of dynamic pricing as well that happens within the flower industry, especially if you're growing things that are at we have all these different microclimates. So if you're getting a product or you're growing something that is typically sort of out of season and it's hard to come by, then you're going to be able to increase and pay a premium for that product as well. The next one is the high-low. So this relies on sales promotions to encourage consumers to purchase. So things like sales, you'll launch a product, it'll be $20, but you've got it listed as $15 on sale. The thing with high-low is that it relies on promotions to encourage consumers to continue buying. If you set that expectation that customers are going to be able to continue to get bargains and sales from you, they're going to continue to expect to get sales and bargains from you. It's not to say you can't do it. It's just to be mindful of it if you use this as a sales tool. Premium price is intentionally set at a higher value than the average market value or competitors' prices. So if you've got a premium product, and again, if we go back to sort of these brands, people are paying for those brands. They're paying for that premium product as well. And if you've got a premium product and you can charge it, then charge it. It's really around things like, geographical pricing, or, looking at having different prices depending on what it is or where it is that you're sort of selling as well. Take a screenshot of this as well in the email that I send out. So I'll just give everyone a moment to take a look at this. And now I'm going to go. So marketing strategy. What is a marketing strategy? A marketing strategy is a plan for understanding and reaching potential consumers and converting them to paying customers. It includes everything from determining who your customers are to deciding what channels you're going to use to reach those customers. Some considerations: brand management versus marketing. Brand is long-term. It's about your business identity. It's things like your reputation, your logo, your brand colors, the things that make your brand special, how people recognize you, how you make them feel. If we use the premium products again as an example, or the luxury items again as an example, it might, people might feel really good. They might have really great sentiment towards those items. And so that's part of their branding and their branding identity and their reputation. They might be really great quality. And so that's long term. That's what you're building, and you're building that trust with your customers and that reputation with the market and people as part of it. Marketing is your short to medium term to get results, and it's often based around promotions. And when I say promotions, I'm not talking about sales. I'm talking about you pumping up your business and getting in front of customers. When you're launching new products, you might be hosting events, those sorts of things. It's about people becoming aware of what it is that you're doing and connecting with those consumers in the hopes of turning them into customers as well. So marketing strategies. So people often talk about in marketing the 7 Ps. I've included the 4 Ps here, but then just made a note down the bottom of the additional 3 that are missing. It's your product, your price, your place, your promotion. The additional ones being people, processes, and packaging, which is also packaging can also be listed as physical evidence. And that's things like, making sure that maybe your logo's on everything that you send out, or a swing tag, and those sorts of things. But the products, like, what is it that makes you special? What are the features, quality, branding? The packaging can also sort of sit in there as well. And what is the life cycle of that particular product? These can also become unique selling points for what it is that you're looking to get out there into the market. The place, the channels, the locations, how you where are you selling? Do you have a retail space that customers can come into? Are you selling from your home? Do you not want customers to come to your home? Are you 100% online? Do you have a hybrid? Do you have things in shops that are for sale? And if you do, how do you let customers know that that's where they're available from? What does your distribution look like? How do customers actually get their product or your service, the product in their hands, or their services? How do they access you and get in contact with you? Inventory is, just really about what is it that you're doing? What do you have on hand? What is it that you need to be able to sort of deliver those? You might, do like an unboxing, or use an influencer to do an unboxing to do sort of some sort of marketing. And so is it about sending that produce out as well, or whatever it is that you're sort of doing to be able to get more eyes on it? Pricing, again, your pricing strategy, how much you're actually selling things for. Be transparent with pricing. There's no point hiding it. I worked in financial services for a long time, and one of the, people were always really scared to talk about fees. No one wants to talk about fees. No one wants to talk about how much something costs. But actually, it's really important, because that transparency also helps to build your trust and your rapport with your customers. So don't try to hide prices. If you're worried about sort of competitive side of things, you might have different ways that people sort of get access to that, but also understanding again about make it easy for customers. You don't want to make it hard for people to be able to find your products and how much it is to sort of be able to access your payment terms, as well as, if you are having any discounting strategies, coupon codes, those sorts of things as well. And then promoting, how are you advertising? What do those channels look like? What's your messaging strategy? What is your tone of voice for your business? How do you want to communicate? Do you want to be playful? Do you want to be really serious? And again, that comes back to your ideal customer and how do they like to consume and receive information, and what does that look like when you actually begin to that. For Grown Not Alone, we try to be playful. We believe deeply in the really serious stuff, but we don't believe sort of we want to be inclusive with our conversation. We're constantly learning, and so we want to nurture that environment as well. And so it's never about putting people down or telling people that they're doing a terrible job. It's really just about bringing people along on that journey with us and educating. And we hope that we do that in a playful way as well. And then PR, so public relations. Do are you looking for get into newspapers or into articles or in front of audiences, or what it is that you're looking to do to get your brand out into the wider communities, or to as much reach sort of as possible as well. The next thing that we're going to cover is 7 ways to build trust with customers. So there are lots of different ways to build trust. These are just sort of some examples, but storytelling, take people on the journey with you, share with them about what it is that you're doing. That's not, let people know when you've got really great things happening, be open and transparent. Don't get into sort of clickbaity stuff too much. You don't want to be like super negative and that sort of thing online, but you want to be transparent and you want to be honest, and don't be afraid to, again, share some of those experiences as part of your journey as well. Transparency. I'm a huge person. Transparency is one of my personal values as well. If I feel like a brand is being deceitful in any capacity, then it's one of the things that will sort of really kind of turn me off from them as well. So be transparent with your customers. Let them know if something's gone wrong, let them know. Don't try to just get away with it. And there was a fashion brand many years ago, and I can't think of what it is, the exact name of the fashion brand, but they made jeans, and they made these jeans knowing. So when I'm an eternal hobbyist is what I describe myself. So I've done lots of courses over the years as well, but I did a pattern making and garment construction course. And I remember as part of this course, the teacher talking about this brand that she worked for. And when you lay patterns out on material, they need to sort of go with the grain and go in certain ways. And there was this brand of jeans that made these patterns, these jeans, knowing that 1 in 20 pairs the leg was going to twist each when people were walking, and they still produced them knowing that that was what was going to happen. I'm not saying that you have to be transparent with those things, but just understand that there are upstream, downstream impacts to the decisions that you make within your business, that are going to have flow-on effects into your business as well. If you know that you've done that and someone needs to return a product or something, they don't need to necessarily know that, but it's just about, creating that trust with your customers as well. Building rapport. It's about adding value, bringing people on the journey with you again, communicating and just being friendly, kind, setting those boundaries and the tone of voice as to how you want to be and operate as a business, being open to feedback. I know we touched on that earlier as well, but just if you're defensive, or you're not willing to listen and learn, then that can backfire quite quickly, because especially when we're in this cancel culture of social media and stuff like that, that if you are defensive, or something is taken out of context, you need to just kind of think about what those potential ramifications are to your business. Share knowledge. There's nothing better than sort of understanding or how you might be able to sort of better help the people that you're working with. Sharing knowledge doesn't mean you have to share all your trade secrets, or if you've got a secret, if you're making batches of cookies and it's a special recipe, you don't necessarily need to sort of like share that, but it might be helpful to share, say, some of the types of ingredients, or where you source that from, or what does the process look like, and it sort of helps build that trust again with yourself and your customers, because they know they get a little bit deeper understanding of who you are and what drives you and your business. Customer testimonials, always really, really helpful. If you've done a good job, let people know about it. I know this is something that I struggle with myself, is because I'm always kind of a bit worried that people will think that I'm bigging myself and those sorts of things. And we do tend to sort of have a little bit of tall poppy syndrome here, especially within Australia. But share the wins, let people know that other people have had good experiences with your business. And you can do that in ways that aren't sort of screaming it down people's faces as well. And have a social media presence or a website, let people be able to see you, feel you. When I say feel you, clearly not physically feeling you, but let people be able to interact and engage with you and see that you're an actual, a person, or that there's people that sit behind the brand as well. So you want to create that human element to what it is that you're doing also. The next slide is just providing great customer service. So assume best intentions. When somebody's contacting you, a lot of the time, they're not waking up thinking, I'm going to ruin this person's day today. You want to assume best intentions, that when someone is contacting you, that they're doing it for the right thing. Of course, there are people that don't do the right thing. Of course, there are people that are trying to scam your business, but be aware of that. But, understand or assume best intentions when someone contacts you. Be helpful, be kind, look for solutions. It's really easy to get caught up in this circular conversation when you're trying to blame, or you're trying to blame each other. The easiest way to cut that and to move forward is to look for solutions or offer solutions as part of that. Communicate clearly and concisely. One of Sam, my partner's favorite sayings is clear as kind, and it's really, really true. Now, I'm someone, I really like direct communications. I like really clear cut information. A lot of people might not sort of like that, and so you might need to sort of soften it, but that's not to talk in circles. And it comes back to that transparency as well. Don't be afraid to talk about pricing. Don't be afraid to talk about those difficult conversations, but just be clear and concise in how you communicate it. Listen to understand and ask clarifying questions. Educate where possible and talk to your customers. It is invaluable information to just be able to do that. Look for trends. If you're being contacted 8 times a day asking the same question, that's a trend. The moment it happens 2 or 3 times, that's a trend. And then what can you do to actually improve that? So if someone is coming to you and asking you consistently, what is the price of this? Well, the price is not obviously something that is easily viewable or accessible. And so you need to make a decision as to whether or not, or how you communicate that price with people to stop those communications. If people are constantly asking you for something that they're able to kind of self-serve on as well, then there's got to be a better way for you to be able to do that, because these then become distractions that take you away from being able to do your core business and provide really great customer service and products to those people as well. Feedback is a gift again, but you don't have to accept it. I know that we kind of already talked about that. And I am a massive believer in reflect, review, refine, that continuous improvement methodologies that sit there. Reflection for me is looking at what worked, what didn't work, what can you do better. Don't place blame. There's no point placing blame. It doesn't achieve anything other than probably offending people. And so you don't, the way that you get the most out of people is to really probably not be offensive. And so try to sort of reflect and in a respectful way, and what could you have done better, or and if something did go wrong, why did it go wrong, and how do you improve that for the future? Listen to what people are saying, not how they're saying it. Remove the emotion and you'll get nuggets of information and gold that's going to help your business to be able to optimize and as well. I did some customer interviews for Grow Not Flown at the end of last year, and as part of it, I spoke to someone and they were really sort of very passionate. They were a florist and they were really very passionate about some of the troubles and problems that they were having. And it would have been really easy for me to get offended and think, why are they speaking to me this way? But actually, the things that she was saying, or the things that they were saying, were so helpful. And it really helped me to sort of understand some of the different pain points that were happening with from a florist perspective as well. So don't be offended by how people say it or the tones and that sort of thing. Just listen to what the actual words are that they're saying. Easier said than done, but just continue to practice it and you'll get better at it, I promise. Final thoughts: have a strong North Star. That's again just understanding who it is that you are, what it is that you're wanting to achieve. And you know, you'll just absolutely soar. Don't be distracted by other things that are sort of happening, or the shiny thing that's happening over here. Know who you are. When you know who you are, you're not going to be distracted by other things or other people or what it is that they're doing in their businesses. Talk to your customers, track trends, read industry reports, keep informed, but this does not mean you need to react or follow. Identify opportunities and act on those. You know, if you're following someone or copying someone, you're always one step behind them at a minimum. Chances are you're actually 5 or 6 or 10 steps behind them, because chances are they've got a strategy and a plan for things on where they want to go and what they want to do moving forward. So don't copy, but look for opportunities and act accordingly. Look for inspiration from other industries as well. You know, I know I said earlier I do a lot of I love learning, and so eternal hobbyist, I go and do some of the best pieces of advice I had in business and life came from completely unexpected places. I did an upholstery course once, where we were upcycling furniture, and the person that was facilitating that course said to me, and it was just something so simple, but it was just like, well, if nobody can see it, what does it sort of matter what it looks like? And it was about sort of, you know, getting everything right. And I'd done some millinery, which is hat making courses previously as well. And all of a sudden it kind of clicked in my brain, where I'd learned all these traditional sewing techniques and everything had to be done in this really sort of proper way. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, learn the rules so you can break the rules, but also learn the rules so that you can understand, you know, like it just all of a sudden I didn't have to follow the rules. There, I make the rules, you know, sort of thing. And it's the same thing with business. We can go through and I can tell you all of this information, but if it doesn't fit and it doesn't feel good, you don't have to do it as well. So know your worth and value. You got to get paid, and back yourself. So that absolutely back yourself 100%. You're all doing amazing jobs and you're going to continue to do amazing jobs and great things. And just, you know, keep moving forward, keep reflecting and looking for ways to improve. So if anyone's got any questions, but we've not really sort of had any questions come through, which is it's allowed me to kind of move through all the pack. But if you do have any questions, I'll give you a couple of moments now. Just pop them into the chat. While we're doing that, I'll just quickly sort of go through. You know, they say always plug, but we've got our gym membership, which we recently launched, which it provides everyone with unlimited access, or as part of the membership, it's unlimited access to our online masterclasses hub plus special member only offers. Each month we'll host masterclasses like this, multiple masterclasses like this. We'll begin to start to deep dive a lot more into a lot of these topics, but we also have special hosts, special industry leaders and guests coming in to host different things as well as having special member only events where we'll talk about some of the hard-hitting topics that sit within the industry. So just these are just some of the upcoming classes that we have. So we just had the Project Management 101 held today. These are also available on demand. So if you do join the membership and there's something, we've got a couple of others that we've done, business fundamentals. We did selling or harvesting and selling dailies as well with Marty from QC Flower Farm, which was a fantastic session. It was a hybrid between pre-recording on her farm as well as the live interactive session where people were asking questions. But we've got one coming up about providing great customer service, which will go into also things around how to have difficult conversations, set boundaries, growing what florists want, naturally drying flowers, some things that we've got, you know, there's a whole bunch, taking your business from hobby to you know, working in it full time, how to have a growth mindset, building your brand, creative ways to grow your income, how to have difficult conversations. Some of the member only events that we've got coming up are pricing a panel conversation for flower farmers. It's a really, really hot topic, sustainability and floristry as well. And we're going to have an in conversation with Rita Feldman, who is the founder of the Sustainable Floristry Network and all the great stuff that she's doing as well. We also just have a survey. So if you wouldn't mind just filling in the survey, it just sort of helps us to be able to understand what it is that you've got going on. What it is that we're doing well, what we're not doing, where people would like to, what topics people would like for us to be able to cover in the future as well. So no questions have come through, just sort of just some nice feedback. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. This webinar or this masterclass will also be available on our YouTube channel, which is really, which will be really great. So you can reference back to it as well. But otherwise, if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. We've got our website, our email, hello@grown-not-flown.com.au. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on YouTube, but also please follow us on Instagram if you're not already. That's where you'll get the most updated information. We've got our mail subscription list, which sits in our link tree if you want to be on our mailing list. Also, if you're on the platform, chances are you've already been included in those mailing lists as well. But otherwise, a massive thank you to everyone for joining us today. It's been really fantastic. When I close the webinar, you'll also automatically be sent through to the survey if you want to wait for that. But if you can take the 2 minutes, fill it in, we'd be really appreciative of that. So thank you everyone for joining us. Hopefully I didn't use too much jargon, and I hope you enjoyed it. But thank you.